Good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning, Presley. How are you?
Very well, thank you. You just look like your father. I said that earlier. Now, tell us about the anti-apartheid or Israel Apartheid Week. What is it all about?
Essentially, what it is to raise awareness about the atrocities that are happening and continue to happen within Palestine.
Mm-hmm. Why is that important, though?
As South Africans, we don't have a choice because the United Nations in 2014 actually declared that the occupation in Palestine has got characteristics of apartheid. Mm-hmm. And there was a formal resolution of the Human Rights Council of the United Nations. Coming from there, the international community, including South Africa, has taken the banner forward, as it was done in the 80s, specifically to boycott, divest, and have sanctions, so that we can have a situation where self-determination by both the Jews and the Palestinians to find a solution to this ever-ending conflict.
Now, we'll come back to the possible solution, but
yes,
it may be argued by those who support this campaign, like you, that you are harboring anti-Semitic views or sentiments. Your thoughts?
If I harbored those views, my father would have kicked me out of his house a long time ago. He fought his whole life against racial discrimination. Anti-Semitism, as a pure definition, is racism. We cannot stand here as South Africans in this whole community and actually support Semitism because it will be reversing the gains that our forefathers fought for.
Mm-hmm. Israel would argue that they're just protecting their borders.
It's a fair argument because there's hostilities within that region. Now, they call it Havrada, which essentially is separation, what is happening there. Mm-hmm. And we are saying that there needs to be a solution to this conflict. Mm-hmm. And we as South Africa and young people specifically of struggle stalwarts who saw the cold face of apartheid that we experienced and still bear the scars of that are saying there needs to be a conclusion to this where the governments, specifically the government of South Africa and of Israel, and the Palestinian people find a solution to this.
Would you then suggest that there would be parallels between South Africa and Israel currently as we stand?
Definitely. Mm-hmm. One thing that people might not know, within Israel, there are streets where Palestinians are not allowed to drive on. There is a law that bans marriages between Palestinians and Israelis. I mean, these are just basic parallels that affect the ordinary person on the ground, let alone the soldier on the front line, let alone the activists or the politicians that are battling it out in the media and within the international solidarity movement.
Now, back to the event itself. Let's go back home.
Yes.
What activities have you got lined up?
That's on a lighter note, actually. We've taken a decision to actually have protests, rallies, cultural events, sporting days, and we've actually been endorsed by some of our foremost artists in this country. LNN has come on board. I know it's your on the other end, but the people that are forming part of it are forming part of this. Hip-hop artists are part of this. Yes. And we're going to be having comedy shows and live performances that are going to conscientize young people, which are our specific targets going forward.
Now, when is this happening and where will it be happening?
People can go on the website. It's IAW South Africa, where all the details are there. Not to get into every single detail, but they'll find everything that they need to know about the campaign.
Just give it again to us.
It's IAW South Africa.
Not .South Africa, it's IAW, one word, South Africa.
Yes, .com.
Well, wonderful. And now, yesterday, the launch of the Israel Apartheid Week was held at Lilliesleaf. Why was that significant and why was it held there?
The significance of it is that in 2005, the Israeli Apartheid Week was launched in Toronto, and the banner was taken up by South Africa, and we've been at the forefront of that international solidarity. Now, we know that Lilliesleaf Farm was the nerve center of apartheid resistance. And we took a decision to take it back there. The roots of the curtailing of the struggle against apartheid, where we know our forefathers actually were exiled and imprisoned post the Lilliesleaf Farm event. Now, we are saying, because of our proximity to some of those people that were affected, by Lily's farm. We are saying let's take it back to the beginning, conscientize people that apartheid still exists somewhere else in the world, which is in Palestine.
Obakeng, do you get international recognition for the event itself?
Yes, we do.
And support?
Definitely, definitely. It actually grew exponentially last year with the bombings within the territories. We now are in 250 cities all over the world, in all major campuses all over the world. And locally in South Africa, we've got 85 organizations that have now endorsed it, including the African National Congress, including all structures aligned with the ANC, including the churches and the South African Council of Churches, to name a few.
Now, a few days ago, the Congress of South African Students, of course, has held a press calling for the compulsory inclusion of into the school curriculum what they call the Palestine struggle against Israeli apartheid. What is your take on that, and is that necessary?
What is necessary is conversations beyond even just having Palestine as being part of the curriculum. We need to have a conscious conversation that says the history books that are being distributed within our schools, do they actually tell the real story of South Africa? And some might beg to differ that they actually do. Now, the Israeli conflict, we can make an example. This year, it's the 30th anniversary of the International Year of Youth, which was a solidarity campaign declared by the United Nations, which said 1985 was the Year of Youth. And the result of that was that we ended up having a state of emergency in this country because young people were mobilized by this resolution and protected by this resolution. Now bring it back here. If you had to ask any young person what IYY is, no one will be able to tell you. But that actually led to the forefront of the struggle actually reaching its finality in 1990.
Now, this is a very serious event, the Israeli Apartheid Week,
Yes.
and of course all the events around it, but you have a comedy show. What is that all about?
Actually, laughter is the best medicine in such situations. However, specifically, if you don't target young people through their interests, it's going to be very difficult to actually capture them because you must capture their interests and then rally them and mobilize them behind your cause once they realize that you actually are speaking to them in their language.
Let's just go back to that website where people can get more information so they can watch the comedy shows, they can watch the musical events and so forth. Let's just give it to us again.
Okay, it's iawsouthafrica.com.
And it's on your screen as well. Obakeng, thank you so much for joining us here in studio, and good luck with your event.
Thank you, President.
That was Obakeng Chikane, the son of Reverend Frank Chikane, and of course, as you know, they're staging that week. They call it the Israeli Apartheid Week, so you can join in on the conversation.